This is JordanTower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Okay, so as we know, rapper Cashout was sentenced to life today. Life. Now, a lot of people are questioning, okay, so this versus the Diddy trial. Because the Diddy trial, he was not convicted, but charged with trafficking. That's exactly what Cashout was just charged with. And he had a Rico involvement, right? So let's get into this. So and we're also gonna listen to him talking about, you know, he addressed the court right before he got sentenced to life. So crazy. If your rap career doesn't work out, you go this route with your mother. With your mother. That's crazy work here. Let's listen to what he said, and then we'll get into the comparisons between this and Diddy.
Good morning today, Your Honor.
Good morning.
I want to start out by thanking you for giving us a fair trial. I want to thank the jurors for the amount of time that they put in to judge this trial. This time being on this trial, I was able to see how the jurors are put in a tough position to, you know, sit there and judge someone's life, you know. And, you know, it's a hard decision, and I felt like they made the wrong judgment. I've done things in my life, I'm not perfect. But the things I've been accused of, I know that I haven't done those things. I know it's typical for a person to come up here and, you know, show remorse to, you know, crimes that they have done, but I can only show remorse to the people that I know that was in this trial, which is Kiara Adams, Deanna Sanders, and Jasmine Brown. Not remorse on behalf of like I did anything to them, because if you know me, and people who really know me know that I wouldn't force anybody to do anything. I met women, I dated women who were doing escort or whatever, however people want to look at it from a moral standpoint, but who was doing these things as a grown woman. I've only dealt with grown women. Nothing was forced. Nothing was coerced or anything of that nature. If you notice, before this trial, no woman can say anything about me before this trial. If you notice, before this indictment, no woman can say anything about me before this indictment. I get the situations that people are put in when they're faced with a certain type of crime or a certain type of time, and they're bullied into this situation to put the blame on someone, or to put the blame on Cashout, or to put the blame on someone who's at the top. That's why I didn't really fault them for their decision. I didn't fault Deanna Sanders for making her decision during a proffer. She just had a child. Mind you, she was just on video call with me while being incarcerated. I don't fault Kiara Adams for doing the things she did with her proffer, because mind you, she was facing a certain amount of time handling her probation in different cases that she's on. I don't fault people for making accusations, because I'm a man that typically let women leave on their own behalf. Never held them in prison or held them in slavery or said, you can't leave me, or you can't do this. Every woman you seen come on this stand showed you that they left and came back willingly on their own. What I mean by that, they left on their own and they came back willingly on their own. During this trial, I was able to see, you know, how valuable life is and how valuable the people that you hang around or the people that you even date, or the people that you even know, how valuable it is to judge their character. Sometimes I let people stay around who I knew was going to affect a situation that I had going on. So I don't, and for the people who came to this trial that I never met a day in my life, never had any contact with them, never had a text message with them, never had an interaction with them, don't even know where most of these stories came from, it's baffling. Never forced a woman to commit a sexual act. Never, I've been traveling all around the world from here to Dubai, and you would never hear a woman say that I forced them to do anything sexual or commit a rape with any.
I have to interrupt because that was what this trial was about. I don't know. It seems does with it. He'll be back on appeal probably because this would this. Oh, he has a public defender too.
Anybody. I don't hang around people that do things of that nature. I feel like and somebody asked me this the other day. It was like, every time I see your head high and you are always smiling, because when you have that confidence, it takes me back to the Bible. When you have that confidence and you know you can be falsely accused of things. Jesus was falsely accused. A lot of the prophets were falsely accused. You don't have that emotion like you've done something. You know, so if you see me with my head high, or if you see me smiling, it's because I know at the end of the day, through Jesus Christ, the Most High will always give you the actual judgment. So I really thank you for providing us a fair trial. Just me getting to know you during trial, I was like, you know, she's just the judge. But when you sit 12 people in that panel and you know, have them, you know, judge our lives and, you know, put them in a position to judge our lives, you know, it takes you back to, once again, the Bible, when people had to judge these prophets' lives. And I say, if you know me, you actually know me. There's plenty of people that know me in this world. There's plenty of people that know me in this jail.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of people were telling on him to get out of their own situations. But still, he was trying to be a pimp. This is why you don't want to be a pimp, okay? Things like this happen. Now, let's compare this with Diddy. Let's see. So prosecutors accused him of running a criminal enterprise over a decade involving racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, force, fraud, coercion, transportation, and prostitution. Key claims: Diddy allegedly orchestrated drug-fueled parties. Woman coerced into sex acts and recorded without consent and transported across state lines, violating the Mann Act. Now, this trial obviously happened in May. We covered that. It lasted about 7 to 8 weeks. And as we know, Diddy was only found guilty on the soliciting prostitution. Bail was denied again. Prosecutors pushing for 51 to 63 months on the guidelines, but each count maxes out at 10 years. Defense wants probation or house arrest, citing first-time offender status. Diddy reportedly shouted, "I'm coming home, baby," post-verdict, calling it a win. Now, let's talk about rapper Cashout. John Michael Hakeem Gibson. He was indicted in 2023 with his mother Linda and cousin in Fulton County Rico case. He was accused of luring vulnerable women, some young as 18, into a prostitution ring using his fame, drugs, and violence. Charges were hard R word, aggravated sodomy, trafficking, pimping, false imprisonment, and RICO violations for an enterprise spanning years. Prosecutor says he posted ads on sites like Backpage, collected earnings, and beat these girls. Now, they didn't charge Diddy with beating the victims and everything. Like, they charged him with trafficking. All right. So this trial in particular went on in June. So the prosecutor he had a whole template for the Diddy trial. It didn't follow it. This lasted about 4 weeks. The key evidence was victim testimonies of the hard R word, coercion, text messages, financial records showing he was profiting from this. Diddy wasn't profiting from anything. And photos of injuries. But he was charged with that stuff. Diddy wasn't charged with that stuff. So jury deliberated for only 1 day and found him guilty on hard R word, trafficking, aggravated sodomy, pimping, and Rico. Acquitted on some lesser trafficking charges. Now he was sentenced today to life without parole. His mother got 15 years and cousin got pretty much the same as him. And as we just heard, he called this the wrong judgment. Now, different outcomes. Well, the charges were different. Both faced trafficking and organized crime, basically using their funds from rapping and their fame to push this. Diddy's was federal, racketeering, trafficking, for force fraud, and Cashout was a state level Rico, pimping, sodomy, hard R word, Rico. Diddy's was freak off parties with celebs, interstate travel, consent debates, no direct hard R word charges. Now, Cashout, hands-on street level, luring women online, physical, family involvement in collecting cash. And then Diddy's was framed as a business empire gone wrong, and Gibson's was a classic pimping ring. Evidence and witnesses. This is the second thing that was kind of different. Diddy's trial had Cassie, hotel videos. The jurors were questioned coercion. Defense poked holes in motives, multiple victims, when consistent hard R word text proving payments, injury photos, less room for doubt. Diddy's high-profile witness faced credible attacks, and Cashout's victims were everyday women. And, that gives people more sympathy. Plus, they didn't get $30 million payouts, right? On a federal and a state case is different. Diddy's case it used a big, broad version of Rico, but it couldn't really prove an enterprise Rico. And Georgia's Rico is allowing patterns of crime without a formal business. So Diddy had A-list lawyers, obviously, and basically Cashouts was basically like a court-appointed attorney or state-appointed. I'm sorry. Diddy's, let's see. Diddy was found on guilty on lesser charges, potential 4 to 5 years. There was a big media prison. Okay, then we got broader implications, a higher systemic basis, wealthy icons like Diddy get partial wins, and then Cashout face max penalties because they're not as famous. So this is basically about power imbalances in the industry and courts. Diddy had more money. They had better strategy. Cashout, had to go with just a regular lawyer that was probably state provided, and he didn't have a good defense. But hey, it is what it is. That's the difference between these two, basically. And one was straight up pimping. Cashout was profiting from this. Diddy wasn't profiting from his stuff. He was paying out, and it almost looked more of just a freaky lifestyle versus a business. Anyways, this is Jordan Tower with JT News. I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace.